What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a brand new show we're doing. We're going to recap the UFC's pay-per-views. Today, we're going to be recapping UFC 243 that took place on October 5th in Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, Australia. Fellas, welcome to the show. We got Jalen, normal voice on the podcast. How's it going?
How's it going?
Yeah, see, everyone knows who you are, but this week is a little teaser on the Twitter account, which you guys should follow, by the way. That is at Fourth Long Radio. We got my resident MMA expert, Blake. Blake, what's up, man?
What's up, man? I'm having a little bit of audio troubles. I hope it doesn't last, but I'm pleased to be on the show. Excited to talk about this card.
All right, I think we all have issues. Let's try power through, see how well it goes.
All right.
But fellas, wild night, really fun. Especially with the Aussie crowd. Let me get some initial thoughts on last night.
Go ahead, Blake.
Man, it was a really fun card. I thought it was fun seeing all those people in there. I think it was a little over 57,000.
Yes.
So that was just really cool to see. They broke the record of the most people coming there at the gate. So that's awesome for the UFC. I'm sure they're really happy with the money they made.
Yep. Per UFC, the attendance ended up being 57,127, which is a new UFC attendance record, and the gate netted $5,487,345 US. So big night for the UFC in Dana White's pocketbook.
No, it was definitely a great event, especially the crowd. There's so many just people coming out, flying from all over the world to come see it. Plus that just natural, not hate between New Zealand and Australia, but just that
friendly rivalry
is always there. Yeah, rivalry. Man, it's always there. All the sports they have going against each other. Mm-hmm. It's just beautiful to see it come to the fighting world.
That atmosphere is crazy. What Marvel seems like a soccer stadium, right? That they filled out for a fight. It's something crazy like that.
Yeah, I believe so.
Definitely
that's huge. That's definitely difficult to do.
Yes, but really good night. I think let's just hop into briefly cover the prelims, because during the prelims we had what ended up being the fight of the night, and that was Brad Riddle versus Jamie Mullarkey in a lightweight matchup. Blake, let me get your thoughts on this fight real quick.
I thought it was a really fun fight. Just the build up to it was pretty cool too. Apparently, Mullarkey had called out Riddell. They're from a pretty similar area in the world, so they've known of each other for a while. Man, these guys really slugged it out in the third round. There was a point in the fight where, they were just rocking each other back and forth, and Riddell just seemed to be the cleaner of the two when it came to striking and just putting his whole game together. He just seemed a little stronger, a little faster, and just his leg kicks definitely paid dividends.
Yeah, it did, especially
so I just thought it was
especially
a really fun fight.
In the later rounds, huh?
Yeah, no, it seemed like that was a theme from the whole card last night were leg kicks.
Yeah, it definitely was a theme for all the fighters.
This light heavyweight division is probably the best. It's definitely the best division in terms of depth in the UFC right now, and it might be the strongest division that the UFC has seen so far.
Yeah, definitely. Especially that fight was just back and forth the whole way, but it was like Riddle obviously was a cleaner fighter. You can see technique-wise, he was obviously more superior, but just even the end of the fight, they're both on their knees, still throwing punches. You don't see that all the time. It's like you just see that they just wanted it that much.
Yeah, if you guys haven't seen that, try to find it, because they were literally on their knees throwing punches at each other. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
But I think the score didn't really tell the full story of the fight. Riddle won by unanimous decision, 29-27, 30-26, and 30-26. Those two 30-26 scores seemed like lopsided, but the fight could have gone either way due to a knockout.
Yeah, definitely. I think that 30-26 is probably that third round.
Yeah, it would have to be. But that was one of the few good fights on the prelims. Another one was Megan Anderson. It was cool to. She's been kind of on a slump. She came home to fight in Australia, where she's from, and she got a solid fight from a submission due to triangle. Blake, you got any thoughts on this one?
Was that me?
You got any thoughts on the Megan Anderson fight?
Yeah, I thought it was. I thought it was a fast start for Dos Santos. She came out and looked like she was going to try and establish her striking. It looked like it almost startled Anderson for a second, but she recovered really well. Got her in a clinch along the cage, and just started kind of asserting her dominance and took it to the ground and showed that she's elite on the ground as well. She's not just a striker.
Exactly. Solid performance for her in that case.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't expect it. I expected it to be more of a striking fight going into it. I knew Megan Anderson. She's tall and lanky, so I feel like she can be good on the ground. But I wasn't expecting her to go there. I was expecting her to try to knock Dos Santos out. But when she got her on the ground, you could just tell that she was trying to send a message that she's not just a one-trick pony. She can do it all.
Exactly. That was really my thoughts on the prelims. So maybe just jump on to the first fight of the main card, which was Justin Tafa versus Jorgen De Castro. Just a typical heavyweight performance, right?
Yeah, that was a crazy good fight. Jorgen De Castro just came out of nowhere and knocked out Tafa. I mean, Tafa was looking really impressive to me.
Yeah, definitely.
They both came out swinging super hard, and Castro actually got tagged early, like in the first 5 seconds of the fight. I want to say Tafa came out and just really stunned him.
Mm-hmm.
But then quickly after that, Castro threw that huge right overhand, connected right on the chin. And what was really interesting too about that whole sequence was the fact that they both swung at the same time.
Yeah,
same
they did.
Exact time.
They Tafa was running in with he kind of ran in took a couple steps towards Jorgen. They both threw a right, and Jorgen just was able to catch him first.
Yeah, he got him clean on the jaw.
It was really cool. Just looked like a Mark Hunt style walk off kind of KO right there.
Yeah, no, you love to see it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing, but it kind of takes away. Like, you kind of want to see a better fight because it did start off like it looked like it was going to be back and forth fight. So you kind of want to know how it was going to go in the long run. But I'm always up for a first round knockout.
Exactly. So this round one knockout for De Castro earned him one of the performances of the night. Netted him a solid $50,000, which was cool to see given his post-fight interview, which you guys probably caught. Pretty emotional guy, huh? But he was out there. He put on a good show, and then his post-fight interview was pretty emotional in the fact that he was just talking about his family, talking about how he needed this fight, try to get them some income. He wanted that extra $50K to help them out. Man, Jorgen, cool dude, pretty much.
I mean, it shouldn't be hard to find him another fight. I mean, the heavyweight division's always searching for the next big knockout guy. I mean, it's not the deepest of divisions, so whenever you get a knockout in the heavyweight division, you're going to get pushed. So he's probably looking for a fight very soon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Big knockouts are what the people want to see, right? Maybe
exactly.
Exactly.
Hey,
that's the story you have with you. I mean, the quicker you're going to get a fan base behind you and more fights and better fights and so on and so forth.
Man, let's see this
Especially
guy.
Especially if you get a walk off with knockout's also pretty good to add to that story.
Let's get Jorgen versus Derek Lewis in his next fight. Just two guys that don't really do much besides throw bombs.
That'd be a beautiful fight. I'd love to see it.
Be a good one. Second fight on the main card was Luke Jumeau versus Diego Lima in a welterweight matchup. Lima won this via split decision, with the judges scoring 29-28, 28-29, and 29-28. Really close fight. What are your thoughts on this one, Blake?
I was actually pretty impressed with Diego Lima in this fight. It was a little like you said, it was a little slow, but I think Lima just kept him at his range really well in this fight. Used those leg kicks, like I was saying earlier. I thought leg kicks were a theme of this evening. I mean, he just ripped into that guy's leg. You could see the redness around it. You could see it hurt for him to put pressure on that. And I think the judges definitely take into account his limited mobility. But overall, I think Diego just kind of imposed his will on him and just didn't let him ever get his sense of comfortability. You know, he looked really comfortable in there. Diego looked like he was on top of his game last night.
Yeah, definitely through most of the fight. Jumeau was able to stun Lima a couple times, I think, in the middle round. But Lima's a tough dude. He really showed that off. He showed off his grit during that fight. It was impressive.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he definitely has a chin. You know, I mean, he actually dropped him with a leg kick in this fight, if you remember, in top position.
Yeah,
that he was able to throw him around too. I noticed he looked stronger than Jumeau.
Yes, definitely. And that calf was looking really, really red by the end of the first round too. Those leg kicks were loud.
And even when he got dropped, or not dropped, but rocked.
Yeah,
he rocked Jumeau right after.
Yes.
I mean, he hit him right there with the hook right afterwards.
Yeah, Lima was he took a couple big shots, but it was impressive to see him, return fire almost immediately. Really good grip by him.
He looks like an inspired fighter last night.
Yeah, no, definitely. You always have to. There's a saying among fighters: you have to give to take. I mean, you have to take to give. So you're gonna have to take a couple of shots, and you always have to have that chin, because if you didn't have that chin, then we're not speaking about a split decision. We're talking about a knockout.
Exactly.
So I think it's kind of just good to see. He had the heart out there. I feel like he had the more heart. It was a back and forth fight that was very technical and slow and methodical, but that technique comes together when you are hurt and legs and you're getting stunned. It comes to show the technique better, because when you're stunned, if you don't have that technique and you're just a flailer, you're going to start flailing, and that's when you start losing fights. So it was definitely a showcase of technique out there.
That's a great point you brought up. Get someone, somewhat into the minds of fighters. You got pretty good background so far. Actually get into the fight game. But just as close, methodical fight. Once again, good leg kicks, really good trading throughout part of it. I'm not surprised I went to a split decision at all.
Not at all.
The 29-28 was, in 2029 was very fair scoring. This was definitely a toss-up, especially in the middle round, I believe. But that brings us to probably one of the biggest names to the Aussie crowd, with Tai Tuivasa going up against Sergey Spivak in a heavyweight bout. This fight ended in round 2 via arm triangle by Spivak. Just really, I thought it was a really exciting fight. What did you guys think of this one?
Go ahead on this one, Jay.
Yeah, you could just see that Tai Tuivasa, he really needs to work on his ground and takedown defense.
Mm-hmm.
It's not there. It's like he's a great stand-up fighter, but it was just obvious from the start. Like, he was landing when they first started up on their feet. Just like they say, every single fight starts on the feet, so you're gonna look good at the beginning if you're a stand-up fighter. But after he just started taking them down and takedown after takedown, and it got ugly really fast. And the fight ended by the arm triangle, but Spivak could have easily just kept punching him and won by technical knockout. It just was. Tuivasa is a great fighter, but I think he really needs to just take some time off and work on his ground game and his takedown defense, because he's not going to go anywhere. Because that's stand-up fights. He's won all of his fights that went straight up stand-up for the most part. But when it's come down to somebody taking him down to the ground and him having to fight off his back, he just gets dominated every time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts then? Going off of what Jalen said, Blake.
Yeah, pretty similar. Tai Tuivasa, I mean, they open up the fight. He lands that huge leg kick and gets Spivak to the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so right away, I was pretty pumped up. But Spivak gets right back up to his feet, and then in comes the judo master. He just starts throwing him all over the place. I think he got, 8 takedowns in this fight?
I believe he went 7 for 7 on takedowns.
That's insane. I think the record's 10, I want to say.
Record was 9 or 10.
And it only went 2 rounds.
The record was 9 in a 3-round fight at the heavyweight. So he got close.
Man, yeah. The first round, you could see the writing on the wall for Tuivasa. There was no answer for Spivak and his just elite judo and his great takedown offense, and he has a smothering presence on when he gets on top of you too. It seems he landed some really good ground and pound, opened up Tuivasa, got him in that arm triangle. Tuivasa, him, he didn't tap. He's a warrior.
Yeah.
But I mean, all in all, it was an incredible performance by Spivak. I was really impressed.
Yeah.
I don't think Tuivasa is going to have a number next to his name anymore, man. I don't think.
No, not at all.
I don't think he can have that number anymore.
He's turning into maybe a little bit worse Mark Hunt. You think?
Yeah. I would say so.
Tai, he looks strong, but there's a reason why he was announced by Bruce as his fighting style to be a street fighter. This guy can throw, but when it goes to the ground, he doesn't really have an answer. Sergey was going off of what you said, Blake. He was really dominant. He had some really good judo throws. Tai's a big dude, and Sergey
he was throwing around
strong.
like a little kid.
He was ragdolling Tai in a couple of those judo throws. Late in the fight, what kind of led up to the arm triangle is that what's it called? Tai made a big mistake. So Tai got taken down again. They were right next to the cage. And so he's going for that arm triangle. He trying to push the shoulder. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jalen, but he's trying to push that shoulder into the throat of your opponent to choke him out that way. And to do it, in order to do that, you have to get on top and also on the side of your opponent. And what Tai messed up with is that he kind of scooted over from the cage, which gave Sergey more room to get in between him and the cage and just to put more pressure and end up choking out Tuivasa. You guys catch that?
Yeah, he pretty much gave him that choke. He pretty much just slid over and gave him his neck. He could easily press up against the gate and defended himself, but he would have probably got TKO'd, which is why he pushed away from the fence to try to give himself room to try to flip over, I think. But he was either going to get choked or knocked out. So I think at that point it was already over.
Mm-hmm. Sergey also, before the choke, he gave a couple good elbows to the forehead of Tai and cut him open pretty bad, honestly. It was impressive.
Yeah, no, it was definitely impressive. It wasn't. I expected Tuivasa that since his last fight he got put on the ground. I thought this fight he would come back and have a better ground game, but he definitely did not.
He didn't learn, did he?
Yeah, no, he definitely didn't.
He's a fun fighter, but if you're actually going to compete at this level, especially the way heavyweights are, you gotta have ground game. It's not the early 2000s anymore where you could just swing and hope for the best and just be good with that,
I mean, you can, but you're going to be on the prelims for your entire life, so.
Exactly.
Good luck.
All right, so, of course, that took us into the co-main event of the evening, which was kind of a split reaction from the crowd, at least. You had hometown hero Dan Hooker versus fan favorite Alain Quinta in a light heavyweight matchup. This fight went the distance with Hooker winning via unanimous decision, with the judges scoring this 30-27, 30-27, and 30-26. I thought this ended up being a really surprising dominant performance by Hooker. Blake, what did you think about this bout?
I thought Dan Hooker beat Al Iaquinta up. I mean, it didn't look too good for Al Iaquinta.
It was rough.
He came in the number 6 ranked lightweight against the number 15 ranked lightweight, allegedly in the standings.
Allegedly,
and it looked like it should have been flip flopped. I mean, that's 2 times in a row now. Al's gone out there and kind of got his butt kicked. Cowboy, who is still he's I want to say he's just a little bit shorter than Dan Hooker. So it just looks like Al lately's been having trouble with the longer fighters, and it's tough seeing a short guy get beat up out in there. But I mean,
that ended up being
noticeable. To find a way to get in there.
Hooker was able to keep him at a good distance throughout most of the fight.
Yeah, he was able to keep him at the end of his punches and his kicks. Another really good example of leg kicks being a prevalent factor in a fight. I mean, you could tell Al's leg was messed up. He couldn't even stand in a conventional fight stance for most of the fight. He had to switch to his other stance, which he's not as good at. So I mean, I think that's going to be a rough one for Al to look back on. And he's going to definitely move down in the rankings, and I don't know who he's going to fight next, to be honest with you.
You think he stays top 10, or does he get kicked out of the top 10?
He might be out of the top 10.
Dan Hooker definitely moves in top 10. He might be number 10.
Yeah, no, I feel like just lately he hasn't been throwing how he was throwing before. It's like it's not there anymore. It's like these tall fighters are keeping him at distance and keeping him pushed back, and he doesn't know what to do. And then plus adding the leg kicks in there, he was falling all over the place, getting knocked down by the leg kicks. It got ugly really fast, and he's a power striker, and so when he can't throw that power because his legs going out, he's keeping having to switch stances and trying to throw still, and Hooker's just beating him up after a certain amount of time. Like, even though you are a tough fighter, it gets really demoralizing when you've gone 2 full rounds and you still haven't really landed anything for the most part. It gets demoralizing, and then next thing you know, you're just sitting there. You either get knocked out or you go 3 rounds without doing anything, and that's how you end up with a 30-27 unanimous decision.
Mm-hmm.
Hooker almost finished him too. Remember
in round 2?
At the end of round 2.
Yeah, round 2.
Yeah,
he had him in top. He was in top mount, just raining down shots. I thought the ref did a really good job holding off right there, because it easily could have been called.
Yeah, Al Iaquinta's a tough son of a gun, man.
Yeah, hey, credit where credit is due. Al is one of the toughest people out there, but Dan really just came into this fight with a solid game plan of how to handle him.
Yeah, definitely.
There's no quit with Al, but I mean, he still has much to improve on. I mean, he's been on the losing end now 2 times in a row, so he's got some corrections to go and make.
Yeah, he's been on the losing end,
definitely.
But he has had some really good competition between Cowboy and Dan.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Maybe that
it hasn't been low competition.
But
not really, because it shows that you can't be in that top. Yeah, it shows you can't be in that top 10 if you're getting manhandled by the people in the top 10. Then it shows you deserve to be in that 10 to 15 or even out of the top 15.
Mm-hmm. I'm really interested to see where Al and the UFC fight makers go from this. Do you think maybe he takes some time, tries to get a little more training in before he takes the next fight? Or do you think there's something where he tried to get back into another fight as quick as possible to try to get back on track sooner?
I don't think Al's in a big hurry to get another fight. I think he's going to be able to have the luxury of being able to make those corrections, taking some time off, maybe going back to the drawing board and correcting some things, and being able to come back maybe early next year or in the middle of next year and picking the right fight for him to get him back on track, because he's a popular fighter. I mean, he always comes to fight. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's going to be I don't think it's going to be a trouble for him to find a fight whenever he does want to come back. And if he wants to come back soon, then that's even more awesome because I'd love to watch him fight again as soon as possible.
There's no one,
Definitely.
there's no sane MMA fan in the world that does not want to watch Alain Quinta. He's a good fighter. He's running a little bit of a rough streak right now, but that should not deter from his career overall, as he's been good and he's been consistent just until lately, you know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't think he's your needle mover like Nate Diaz or Jorge Masvidal now.
No.
Or Conor McGregor even. But he's definitely a guy where when you see him pop up on a card, you know he's fighting on that card. You're really interested in watching that card. That's going to make you want to watch it for sure.
Exactly. And this fight is just doing wonders. It's going to do wonders for Dan Hooker. The sky's the limit for this guy now, especially from a really, really all-around solid performance from last night's card.
Yeah, no, and then afterwards, after he won the fight, he called out Dustin Poirier.
Oh,
so next year he's gonna smash his face in.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, Blake, we talked about this a little last night. Probably, I mean, credit for Hooker, Biz. That's how you make a splash, calling out Dustin. But if we're talking in terms of Dustin, that's kind of a stupid fight to take, because Dan is not going to be top 5. Dustin still is top 5, and a win for Dustin is not going to do nearly as much for him as a win for Dan would do. That's kind of what I was thinking last night. What's your thought on that from Dustin Poirier's standpoint?
I think that there's no way in hell Dustin takes that fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he just fought Khabib. He had the interim championship and just fought Khabib and lost to him. So his next fight's either going to be, for whatever reason, if Tony Ferguson doesn't fight Khabib next, it's going to be Tony, or it would be Gaethje. A rematch with Gaethje would be a good one. Another good option, because Gaethje's climbing up the ranks now, knocking everyone out.
Maybe Poirier Cowboy.
McGregor rematch would be on the table as well. Has Cowboy fought Poirier?
I don't believe so.
No, he's not.
I'd even rather see Cowboy fight Poirier before I'd see Hooker fight Poirier.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Cowboy versus Hooker would be a good fight.
Ooh,
yeah, I was just about to say that Cowboy versus Hooker sounds like a great fight.
That's a good call. If that is easily something that could headline one of the bigger fight nights.
I think that would have been a better call out for Hooker.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would have been a great call out.
Because I mean, just Poirier, he has no interest in that fight, man. Like you said, he is a top 2. He's not going to fight a number 15 that just beat a number 6, so he'll maybe be number 10.
Exactly. Might break into the top 10. I'm interested to see when exactly these rankings come out. But you bringing up the Hooker Cowboy fight, I'd be so down for something like that.
That would be a fun fight.
It just makes sense to the bookers too, because Cowboy recently beat Al. Hooker just beat Al. Let's see who the better one of the two is. Maybe.
Yeah, definitely. And Cowboy's coming off a loss, so this will definitely be a good chance for him to kind of prove himself that he's still at it.
This would definitely be a proven fight for both fighters. But
yeah, we gotta call up Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard.
Hire us, man. Well, we don't even need like that much money, honestly. Just let us make the fights. We'll be good. We'll be good with it. Hit this up.
We'll take care of the fans.
See, Dana, I know you're listening to this podcast. Of course you are. Why wouldn't you be? Shut up, Jalen.
He has nothing better to do right now.
Well, yeah, no, he's only taking 50 phone calls an hour, but he still manages to listen to our recap show. So thank you, Dana, for being a listener.
Definitely appreciate you.
Yeah, that's probably something legally saying that we can't put on the Twitter page saying that Dana supports us.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it.
It's gonna happen. But all in all, Saul fight, Hooker looked really good. Really good for his career. And this takes us to the main event of the evening, which is Robert Whitaker, middleweight champ, versus interim champ Israel Adesanya. Long away. This long way for Robert to finally step back into the octagon. He's been out 19 months, just really a string of unfortunate injuries that's kept him out. Israel is this undefeated up and comer. Just fought Anderson Silva in what was like that might have been one of my favorite matches I've ever watched because it was artwork. It was poetry in motion. That fight, really hyped up fight, and I really think it delivered. Starting off with the entrance by Israel himself, coming out with his teammates dancing and doing that little kind of flip that he does. That's actually really impressive.
And then that was very impressive.
Yeah, but uh,
I would definitely love to see Israel on Dancing with the Stars in the years to come.
That would be awesome.
Oh, he'd kill it. But Jalen, you want to start us off with your thoughts on this fight, and then we'll go to Blake's thoughts after that.
Yeah, this was just after seeing this first starting the fight, I could not tell who was going to win. I'm an Israel fan, so I was wanting him to win just because based off the fact that I'm a fan of him, and I think he has one of the most dominant styles, and he's one of the best strikers in all of MMA right now. Mm-hmm. So I thought he was going to win all the way through, but I think it was pretty much a toss up. If you weren't a fan of either one, it was pretty much a toss up. Robert Whitaker's obviously looked like he had more power. And looked like he was a stronger fighter. And Israel I think, was overall a better striker. And going into it, Robert he just kept lunging and jumping out there. And then at first it looked like he was setting something up, but then it was like he kept doing it. And I was like, okay, you're not really setting anything up. You're getting really, really close, but you're still missing. And so I kept thinking he was going to set it up. And he tried that kick, which it looked like that's what he was going to set up. But Israel saw it coming from a mile away and just got out the way of it, which is very impressive that he didn't block the kicks with his hands. He just moves his head back. Like he gets out of the way, he just knows where it's going to land.
That was impressive. It's I failed to mention earlier, but Israel, for those that did not watch this fight or Cara just tuning into this show to get the gist and listen to what happened, Israel won in round 2 via TKO knockout. Called off. Hit a clean little 2-piece right there.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker set himself up for failure. It was at the end of the first round. I feel like Robert, if he hadn't done anything, he lunged at the end. There was like 4 seconds left, and he could easily walk back to his corner, and he probably could have snuck out with that round. To be 100% honest, because it was pretty much an even round. But I feel like because he was the aggressor, if he didn't jump in with those 4 seconds remaining and get knocked down, that was his first round. And then that's already a round up. Like every round counts in a 5-round fight, especially if it ends up going 5 rounds. And then when you get knocked down, especially how hard he got knocked down, like that was a finishing punch. The way he got knocked down at the end of the first, you end fights with punches like those. So when you have to go and sit down in your corner and after getting punched like that and getting saved by a ref, and then you have to go back out and fight a whole nother round, you're not going to be ready to do that. And I feel like after getting knocked down at the end of that first, that set him up. That was it for him. Mm-hmm. Israel had him down. He had all what he was going to do, the technique. And if you go back and watch the fight, the sequence of which Israel knocked Robert out, they had that same sequence. And every single time you saw Israel getting closer and closer to that left hand and that right hand, left hand combo. And he kept getting closer and closer to it. And that last time it happened, he caught him. And I was really surprised that Robert didn't see that coming, because me just watching it, I saw him setting it up, and I thought him as a champion and with his experience, he would notice that Israel was setting up, that he wanted him to keep lunging at him. Mm-hmm. And so it was just, I feel like Robert set himself up for failure in that fight.
Was that kind of your take too on this fight, Blake? Let's hear your breakdown of the main event.
Yeah, I too noticed Rob lunging in for every punch. It looked like he definitely wanted to take a page out of the Kelvin Gastelum fight transcript, against Israel. But like Israel said, don't take everything from that fight and put too much into it, because each fight's different. And Israel looked super prepared for Rob to come in lunging like that. I mean, he was throwing those check hooks the whole fight, and they were getting closer and closer as the rounds progressed. He dropped him in that first round with that sharp right hook, and like Jalen said, I mean, that's a finishing shot right there. You could tell when that bell sounded and he was going to get up, he barely knew where he was. He probably didn't even know what day it was, honestly.
He looked out in his corner.
Yeah, I mean, and you could tell like that was just the beginning of the end right there. In the second round, you knew it wasn't going to take too long. That finishing sequence though was really interesting, because Robert actually did get in a decent punch there, but then right as he's lunging in for that punch and finally connects a good one, boom, Israel hits him with the right, boom, hits him with the left, and just finishes the fight right there. I mean, crazy fight. I had Robert coming into the fight because I thought he was just those 50 minutes with Yoel. I just didn't see any weaknesses, any glaring holes.
Oh yeah,
in his game
those two fights against one of the better fighters in the division right now too, with Yoel Romero.
One of the scariest men on the planet.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Beat him twice.
That guy is a freak of nature. He's a specimen.
He's 40 and looks better than a whole bunch of 20-year-olds.
Shit.
That guy is like a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah, I totally thought that too. I thought it was going to be a close. I thought it was going to be kind of a close back and forth fight like this. I did not really see it going the distance. I thought Israel is just the salamander, man. He's just the next big thing. He's so good. He's really good, and this fight just kind of cemented it.
Yeah, no, his background in kickboxing and all that, it's just he tore that up, and just his striking is just crazy. The way it's like you could tell in his fights when he's gonna win. Is because it's literally just like they'll be fighting and the other person will probably land a couple of shots, but then you just see after a certain point he just starts moving and changing and landing, and he just doesn't miss after a certain point. He just stops missing, and it was crazy because like right at the end, kind of before he landed that big shot at the end of the fourth, he started landing, and then he landed that one at the end of the first, and then going into the second, pretty much everything he threw landed. It's just amazing how accurate and precise he becomes after getting you down. Like he just kind of waits a little bit, and I kind of think at the beginning of a lot of fights, it kind of looks like, oh, he's not prepared. And then just like after he gets you down, I feel like it took him longer than that Kevin Gastelum fight. I feel like at the end of the fourth and the whole fifth round, that's when he finally had it down, and he barely missed at all.
Yeah.
If he at all, he didn't miss in that fifth round.
See, me and Blake were discussing this last night a little bit. Blake, if you want to discuss this a little more, Jalen, follow after. But do you think that Robert might just have a little ring rust for a 19-month layoff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, you can. That 19 months, it is difficult to hop back in there against high competition and dominate. But as a champion, that's exactly what you're expected to do. Like, as for like, if it was like Al Quinta fight versus Dan Hooker, if Quinta had come off a 19-month layoff and did that, I'd be like, okay, he's not a top. I mean, he's a top fighter, but he's not the top two. I wouldn't say he's a top two fighter, so I would never expect Quinta to come back from a 19-month layoff and do that. But for Robert Whitaker, he's been on the top for a minute now. He's proven himself to go 5 rounds with people like Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero, I can guarantee he is way stronger than Israel is. I guarantee that. I guarantee he's a stronger person than Israel. But Israel is more precise and stuff like that. And then, so I feel like if you can go and take shots like that from Yoel, and then you come into this Israel fight, Israel is not as strong as a puncher. He definitely has one shot knockout power, as he proved. But I feel like if you can take shots like that and not make mistakes against Yoel, who is just crazy and way more athletic than Israel is, I think you should be able to, even if it was a 19-month layoff, I feel like you should be able to come back and at least, like, if you were going to go in and last 5 rounds and lose there, that's different. But to come in and just get pretty much dismantled by Israel in 2 rounds, I feel like that you can't 100% blame a 19-month layoff. That's kind of, it's more of a mental and physical thing to that than it is just a layoff.
Comes down to Israel just being that good, huh?
Yeah, at that point, it does come down to him. Just he was a better fighter that night. I'm not gonna say overall because I feel like we have to see him a little bit more against top competition. I feel like he's fought Kevin and Robert, but I feel like if we can see him one more time, if he does that to another person in the top 5, then I feel like we could officially say it's just because he's that damn good. But as of right now, I feel like he's just been catching these people, getting people down, and just pretty much catching them off guard. I feel like a lot of people have been downplaying him because he is one of the skinniest people in the division. Like, leading up to this fight, seeing Robert and him next to each other, you're like, he looks like a twig.
Right?
He's not going to knock him out. Like, even me, I'm a gigantic Israel fan, but at the same time, I was like, it does not look like he's going to knock this dude out. He's just like, he looks like he's half his size. So it was, I don't know.
It was good, but just let me get some thoughts on this real quick. Might not be directly related to the fight, but there are some reports going around that Dana White would not be opposed to a Israel Adesanya John Jones fight. Blake, you got any thoughts on this rumor?
Say that one more time.
You guys got any thoughts on the potential matchup of Israel Adesanya versus John Jones?
Yeah, I don't think this happened anytime soon. It's not the best fight for either of them right now. I feel like John Jones needs to defend lightweight again, or even if he needs to go up to heavyweight. But I feel like even though they do have that little internet beef they got going on right now, it would be a big money fight. But I feel like career-wise for both of them, that's not the fight for them. Israel needs to prove himself. I mean, he's already proven himself as one of the top middleweights, but at the same time, he needs to prove that he can do this again. He needs to prove that this middleweight win against Robert wasn't a fluke. So I feel like he needs to worry about the middleweight and kind of just do what John Jones did. John Jones went through lightweight and has pretty much beat everybody who's not one of the newer guys that are recently signed, and just pretty much clean that top 10 out, or at least the top 5. Clean the top 5 out, and then John Jones, he needs to fight at heavyweight if he wants to, or just kind of get the new guys that are in light heavyweight out the way. They kind of proved that because there are a lot of guys coming up in light heavyweight who do deserve a shot at that title. So clean those new guys out. Israel cleans out the top 5, and then I would say later down the road, after that's done, go ahead. But I feel like right now it's just not the time for them to start changing weights and coming after each other.
I agree. There's no reason for Israel to take this fight, if I'm being honest. He's really good, but Jones is one. He should be undefeated, too. I think he's just a better fighter. I don't see Israel being able to move up to 205 either.
I want to say Israel said 2021, though, when he was talking about the John Jones fight.
Yeah, he did mention that.
Stemming from. So I don't think he plans on going up and fighting him anytime soon. But man, if he keeps going on this trajectory, why not make that super fight? And John Jones is going to be 2 years older at that time.
It'd be buried down the line, huh?
It already looks like the cracks are starting to show for Jones based on his last performance against Thiago Santos.
And Thiago on one leg took him to a really close split decision.
Yeah, that was insane to me. I mean, he looked very much beatable in that fight.
Yeah, also I feel like that fight for John Jones, he also came out and said that he fought Thiago in his own fight. I think John Jones is a great striker and a great grappler, and I think the fact that he stood up with a guy like Thiago, I feel like it was a mistake, but he said that's what he wanted to do, and I feel like that's because at this point he's proven himself. He's one of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. So now he has to have a fight by fight prove. And so that proof was I could stand up with the best of them. And so, yeah, he did barely pull that one out against Thiago. But I think, again, if you look at Thiago's resume, Thiago was obviously the better Muay Thai fighter. And that was a kickboxing fighter. And that was that was dangerous to do, and the fact that he was able to pull it out, even if it was a slim thing, I feel like that was very bold of him to do.
Yep.
And he didn't really get touched. I mean, like, not he didn't get touched, like he did get hit a couple times, but for the most part, he pretty much stood up there and tore Thiago's leg apart. Like, yeah, he ended up being like Thiago ended up hurting himself, but John Jones saw it, adjusted, and started tearing that leg apart.
Yep.
And at that point, it comes down to that IQ. He didn't need to outfight Thiago because he could just sit there and kick his leg.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, yeah, fighting wise, yeah, you want to be the better fighter, but at some points you have to think about it. If you want a long career and you want to be champion, sometimes it comes down to the fighting IQ instead of just who's the stronger person.
Of course. Yeah, but all in all, gentlemen, can I get some last thoughts on this card as a whole? Blake, last thoughts on this?
Yeah. So one final thought for me is just how freaking cool was that entrance by Israel Adesanya? I mean,
right.
That dude. Just think of the cojones it takes for him to come out there, have that thing all choreographed. You know, not only thinking about the fight, but also thinking about executing that dance in front of 57,000 plus people.
Really?
And then going in there, doing all the extracurricular activities in the ring while he's getting his name announced. I mean, this guy is just an entertainer. I mean, he just lives to entertain. So it's refreshing to kind of see a character that's almost Conor McGregor-esque. I don't want to put that comparison to him, and
they
he's his own person.
They
but
entertain
he
in
draws
different ways,
like that.
right? Conor is more like
both just entertaining.
He'll call insult the shit out of everyone that tries to say something, whereas Israel does that a little bit. But he's just a showman, a little bit of Tyson Fury in them, like kind of comparison, right? But it's really refreshing to have someone in the UFC like this, just a showman that's somewhat of a braggart, but he could definitely back it up.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, it's awesome. It gets everyone pumped up because either you love him or you hate him, but either way, you're going to tune in. You know, it's perfect. And how about that Paulo Costa beef right there at the end too?
Oh yeah,
flipping him off on top of the cage.
Yeah,
giving him the whole DX suck it.
If you guys don't know, Paulo Costa is the number 2 ranked middleweight fighter right now.
That's the fight to make.
Called him out after the fight. It has to happen. What Israel called him, like a bloated like balloon or something like that.
Overinflated balloon animal, Ricky something lookalike. I don't know the exact reference he was making.
He was doing that. Yeah, he was hitting him on the post-fight interview. Yeah, Ms. Jalen mentioned he jumped up on the cage, gave him the double bird. Blake said that he gave him the good old WWF DX. Showman. That's gonna be a good fight. Has to be, right?
No, I think it will be.
A big test.
Yeah, no, I think it will be, but I think if Paulo Costa fights anyway, the way he came out and fight against Yoel Romero, he doesn't stand a chance.
That's fair.
Because he came out against Yoel and he was throwing, but he got torn apart.
Yep.
And I think Israel is he has way better precision and accuracy, and he's going to tear you apart. I think Yoel kind of goes out there, and he is strong, and he kind of throws, and he's going to land, but I feel like he doesn't land enough. He didn't land enough to knock Paulo Costa out. But I think a fighter like Israel in that same exact situation, he finishes that fight.
But card as a whole, that was UFC 243, which took place in Melbourne, Australia. Really good card, main card at least from top to bottom. Solid knockouts. Also, a couple really good fights that did go the distance. All in all, just really fun Saturday. It's a great card. It only gets better from to the end of the year with the Bass Motherfucker belt going to be fought over between Diaz and Masvidal next month at UFC 244. Then after that, at UFC 245, we have three championship fights on that card alone. The rest of the year is going to be stacked. Thank you guys for joining the podcast. Of course, Jalen he's always here. He has nothing better to do, right?
Yeah, I don't have anything else better to do.
Get back around Twitter. Of course.
Yeah, I'll get back on social media.
Appreciate it. big shout out to my boy Blake. I really appreciate what the knowledge you bring to the show, and it would be fun to. Of course, I want to make this a monthly thing with the big UFC pay-per-view recaps. But also, it wouldn't be a bad thing to have you on the actual weekly podcast, breaking down some weekly MMA for us, huh?
Hey, man, I appreciate any time you have me on. It's always a blast talking with you and you too, Jalen. It was a pleasure.
Hey.
Always a pleasure, Ross.
Big thanks to you guys. Big thanks to everyone at home listening to this show. Your support means so much to me and everyone else. Just trying something new. Hopefully this recap show, you guys like it, works out. Of course, as usual, follow the Twitter page at Fourth Long Radio. That's capital F, capital L, and capital R in that. If you guys got criticisms, you got questions, you got hot takes, send them to us. We'll talk about that happily. Just because ultimately this show is ran by the viewers, and we just wanted to give you guys what you want. And just so, to quote Batista, give me what I want. But big thanks to Blake, Jalen once again. And this was a fun discussion. Hoped everyone at home enjoyed. And we will catch you guys on the week. It's going to be episode 7 coming out this week. Catch us
I think so.
on sometime this week. See you guys then. Appreciate you tuning in tonight. And have a good one.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much for having me, guys. It was a pleasure.